And welcome to the show. It is Stay Awake with John T. Hill. And tonight, they drove the old North State down. We've known that the Republicans were going to eventually take the State House and the governorship here in North Carolina for some time. The state's been trending Republican for quite a long time, but historically, the Democrats controlled state politics. The Republicans usually took the federal offices. The Republican presidential candidate usually won North Carolina. The House races, more often than not, went to Republicans. A few traditionally Democratic districts usually stayed solid blue. That was until 2010, when the so-called Tea Party revolution came along, and they captured both the State House and State Senate. And Governor Bev Perdue was pretty much DOA after that. She had not had a very good term. The economy had bottomed out on her. And no matter how much she tried, she couldn't get the economy to be resurrected. And when the midterms came along, she was pretty much done. So she didn't run for office again, which meant that Walter Dalton, who is from my local area, had to try and keep the governorship in Democratic hands. Now, Pat McCrory comes along, the former mayor of Charlotte, who was pretty much middle-of-the-road conservative when he was mayor of Charlotte. Decides to go along with all the stuff that the Tea Party wants to do. Now, in a state with a lot of rural unemployment, where the textile industry has been decimated, where the double-digit unemployment has become a yearly thing, people are used to it, where you have people who are literally scratching and clawing to find a job, doing whatever they could to get to the unemployment office to look for jobs on computers. They've sold everything. They're on food stamps. They don't want to be on food stamps. And yet, the State House, effective this past June 30th, pretty much cut a lot of those people off because they consider them to be lazy bums. I know quite a few people who have been long-term unemployed, who have been doing their damnedest to find work. You could say, well, why don't they just go to McDonald's? Here's the problem. Yeah, they're going to get a minimum wage job, but McDonald's usually isn't going to hire these people because A, they're unemployed to begin with, B, they're already too old, and they expect they'll probably want to be management and get raises and such. And basically, McDonald's, especially the ones around here, they want young people so they can either mold them into managers in their own way or basically just to, have cheap labor. Hiring an old person at a fast food place, it's very rare, especially in a place like McDonald's. What about Walmart? Well, Walmart is not really hiring that many people anymore, and there's a lot of turnover there. And basically, they've been pushing a lot of the old help out. So, yeah, you might find a job there, but if you stay there any length of time and you get raises and such, guess what? You might be shown the door too because you are making too much money. You want too many hours, and here's the problem. The problem isn't the unemployed. The problem are the people at the top who don't understand that they are sowing the seeds of the very thing they fear most, a socialist revolution. Now, I'm not advocating for that. No. But I'm warning. Look, you've got people who are busting their butt at 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. Gas is going up, food's going up, rent's going up, energy bills are going up. How can you stop it? It's virtually impossible. And sadly, there seems to be no emphasis on trying to make things better for the average folks. There's no movement on the jobs thing. Of course, they want to cut corporate taxes, which, other states have done, and guess what? Yeah, there's been some job growth, but a lot of that job growth is minimum wage jobs. They've not actually built up things. I mean, we can go around and round and round, but the thing is, what made America great isn't the rich. It's the middle class and the working class. They built this country. They won world wars. They went off to fight. The rich folks, they invested, but if their investments had to go to factories here in the United States, now the factories are overseas. They're reaping all the benefits. It all began 30 some odd years ago when the corporate environment, when Wall Street decided that the most important person in a company is not the employees, not the owners, but the stockholders. So, in an environment like Walmart, it's not about serving the customer. It's not about building an environment where employees feel valued and that value is reflected on good treatment of customers. It's about making money. Pure and simple. It's about putting money in the cash register from customers who have no other choice. Walmart's wanting to run out all competition, so you have no choice. That's monopoly. But 30 some odd years ago, Walmart probably would have been broken up. Some antitrust lawsuits would be brought against them. Now, Walmart's almost too powerful. How can you break them up? They've hurt the economy more than helped it. And what this old North state we're seeing now is this failed trickle-down theory is being constantly refurbished and put almost as chapter and verse of the Bible. Thou shalt not put high taxes on corporations or rich folks. Thou shalt raise them on poor folks because they don't own property. But they buy stuff at Walmart and they should be paying a full food. Instead of keeping the food tax at 2%, they want to raise the food tax. They're cutting back on education. And it's the teachers' fault our schools are failing when in fact they've not risen pay in 4 years, and finally this year they decided, well, we'll throw them a bone, we'll raise a percentage point, 1%, taking away their teachers' assistants, taking away, limiting their school class size. It's ridiculous. They're doing everything that traditional education experts are saying to do to teach kids. Instead, they want to destroy the public education system, put this money into vouchers, and so that their buddies in the religious schools and the private schools and charter schools and such can have this money. Now, charter schools on the surface are a pretty good idea. But as long as they don't take away from the public schools are a part of the North Carolina Constitution. Public school education is in the Constitution. It is a requirement of the state government to provide an adequate public education. We're not seeing that. And that's probably where we're going to see a lawsuit soon enough. Now, of course, the Republicans are knowing that people are going to be mad, decide, well, we want to make sure that we don't get voted out, so we're going to limit voting access. And you're going to say, well, it keeps people, illegal immigrants from voting. It keeps voter fraud. Here's the thing. When's the last time you heard anything about voter fraud from a Democrat? Good. You can't remember. That's because it's very rare. More often than not, it's the Republicans who are doing the voter fraud. And they want to make it to where it's harder for traditional Democratic voters to vote because they know they can't win those votes. So instead of trying to court those votes, they're going to try to stop those votes. Students can't use their student IDs to vote anymore. They're going to punish parents if the student registers to vote at their college. They're going to take away their tax break for their student because, hey, we don't want those students to vote because they'll vote Democratic. We want to make it to where we shrink early voting, no more same-day registration, because we want to make it harder. We want to make it more of an inconvenience. And if it's harder for an old person to vote or a poor person to vote, they're less likely to vote, which means they're less likely to turn these bastards out. Now, of course, they don't want you to focus on that. They want you to focus on the fact that, hey, they're saving babies in North Carolina. They passed a very tough abortion restriction bill, or they're about to pass one. They're so proud of it, when in reality, it doesn't do a damn thing because all it does is it's going to basically be overturned anyway. It's going to create a lawsuit, which means more state money is going to be spent fighting the damn thing instead of, having it to where young women receive an adequate sexual education to where they don't get pregnant to begin with. Instead of this ridiculous abstinence only, which doesn't work. I'm sorry, folks. Abstinence education, only education, has been proven time and again a failure. And why people continue to believe that it works is beyond me. Every single state that has implemented abstinence-only education saw a bump up in teen pregnancy. Those states that had a full-fledged sex education program, teenage pregnancies went down. But they don't want you to believe it. They want you to believe that the evil school system is trying to corrupt your children's mind and that the parents alone should have control over what their kids read and all this. Well, guess what? Not every single parent gives a damn about what their kid's doing. We're seeing, there are a few parents out there that, want to micromanage their kids and make sure that the schools are not teaching anything that goes against the Bible and all that. Well, here's the thing. You can't have it both ways. You have to have a liberal arts education in the system. You have to let the religious education take place in the churches, in the homes. Let the parents instill the values. Let the school system teach the art, the music, the academics, the drama class, the theater, that stuff. But yet they don't want you to fund that because that's dangerous. That means students may actually have a mind of their own, and it comes down to this: it's all about control. If a person is uneducated and is taught to believe in what the pastor says on Sunday and not to question it, then that means that they're more docile, more pliable, more apt to be manipulated by their bosses at work and by the people that in the church. And this is the thing that my grandfather, God rest his soul, warned me about. He told me when I was a little kid, when Jerry Fall was on TV and Pat Robertson and all this, he said, John, those men are going to destroy this country. They want to tell you what to think. They want to tell you how to believe. They want to control every little bit of aspect of life. And the danger of the church gaining control of government is that it will control everything. It will make the rich people, which historically, if you've looked in European history, the nobility were the rich folks, controlled the serfs in feudal times. They want to bring feudalism again. Look what's happening in China. You have all this economic freedom, but political freedom they don't have. You contest the government and what they want to do, you're in trouble. And we've seen a lot of things happen in China that, China's in a bubble situation. The government's propping up the economy right now. And what scares me, folks, is that when that bubble bursts, everything's going to collapse. Yeah, and this is the thing that they don't want to tell you. This is the thing that Obama doesn't want to tell you, and our political leaders don't want to tell you. How much we've become reliant on China. China's economy, yeah, it's still growing, but it's been artificially pumped up by the government. In reality, they're stagnating. They've created projects to try and build. They have shopping malls where there's nobody there. They have planned communities where nobody lives because they're too far away. They build these huge, gigantic projects that, they may look impressive, but do they do a damn bit of good? No. So, here's my concern, ladies and gentlemen. Here is my concern. And I want you folks to understand something. America is facing a crisis right now. It has faced this crisis for over 30 years. Trickle-down economics has failed. It's destroyed the middle class. It's made the rich richer by making the poor poorer. Wages have not kept up with the cost of living. Pardon me for just a second. I need to wet my whistle. You'd think working in a call center for 8 hours a day, constantly talking, would have my throat used to it by now, but no. The old North State used to be a very prosperous state, a very progressive state, still with traditional values. I mean, we had to have some racial problems back in the day. Of course, we still have them. It's just not as prevalent as it used to be. It's a lot much more under the surface now. But let's face it, where were the sit-ins? Greensboro. Yep, back in the 60s. Busing, big deal in Charlotte back in the early 70s. Here's the thing that I want you to understand. The agenda by the religious right and the corporations are to basically make it to where you don't question the rule. Limited government means that corporations can do whatever they want. Schools can basically teach you things to make sure that you don't question authority. You dare not question authority. You don't question that the environment's being damaged severely, that fracking is messing with your groundwater. There are people in places of power who look at China longingly and say, American democracy is a detriment to our goals, to American prosperity. We want people as ball bearings. to where they know their place. They don't question getting out of their place. Yeah, they're poor. Yeah, they can't do nothing. They can't go on vacations. They can't go to the hospital unless they mortgage their fortune, mortgage their meager homes and whatnot. Work themselves into an early grave. It's what's happening, folks. It's sad but true. It is happening. And I wish with all my heart that I were joking. But I'm not. I wish with all my heart that I were wrong. But I'm not. Trickle-down economics has failed. It's failed spectacularly. It's failed in ways that have been an epic, epic disaster. Unfortunately, what can be done about it? I wish I had an answer. I wish I could tell you there was an easy answer. Unfortunately, I don't have one. We're seeing our education system gutted in the state. We're seeing teachers told that they don't belong, that they are not the solution to the problem, they are the problem. When in reality, they are fighting an epic battle to try and stay, relevant. But of course, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they don't want you to have anything to do with critical thinking anymore. They don't want you to think. They don't want you to know what's really going on. Because if you knew what was going on, you would dare question your betters. Just like in the old days. You're not supposed to question your betters. That's blasphemy, folks. You're not supposed to question them. You can't do that. But we all know, sad to say, that nothing's really going to change. I wish I were kidding. I wish I were mistaken, but the sad truth is our nation is falling apart at the seams. What made this country great, the great educational system, is being gutted, not just in North Carolina, but across the board. Our university system is being pushed away from those people who yearn for a better life because Pell Grants are being gutted by insanely high student loan rates. You know what would really kickstart the economy? Student loan forgiveness. Completely wipe it out. Say to the students, your student debt, gone. Completely gone. We'll pay for it. We'll make sure you get a valuable education. If you qualify for student loans, student grants, you can go. You can go to college and achieve your dreams and not be burdened by thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in debt while you're trying to find a job to actually pay on that debt. And we've heard many, many stories of students who get a degree in a very well-paying field. They followed all the advice, find the right field to get into, and what happens? They can't find a job. That's happening not only here in North Carolina, but across the country. Yeah, there are particular parts of the country. Yeah, there's certain areas where job growth is very high, but it's not nationwide. There are places in this country where I live at who've had high unemployment for over a decade, because the powers that be did not ever try and bring back the economy back, to diversify the economy when they had the chance, when the economy was strong, and realized this isn't going to last. We need to do something to strengthen the economy. Instead of actually being smart about it, they decided instead to be dumb about it and, basically got the economy when the textile industry fell apart and went overseas. Yeah. What's here? Cheap plastic plants that barely made it. They decided to move overseas. Industry dying away. Manufacturing dying away. It's all about the service industry now. But now the service industry, they're limiting themselves. The mantra is, employees are the most controllable expense we have. Let's cut back on them. Let's cut back on their full-timers. Let's cut back on hours. Let's cut back on benefits, everything. They've demonized unions, although the unions themselves have justified some of that demonification. I won't get into that tonight. But workers' rights have been eroded. Prospects for young people these days are dismal at best. And I feel for kids like my nieces, my nephew, the kids I see walking to school in the fall, will be walking to school. I fear for the college graduates coming out next year, for the college graduates from this past year, because a lot of them will have listened to the right advice, and they're going to find out that it didn't work. Finally, a message to the people who are defending this movement. You are causing your own demise. You're causing yourself to become the new version of serfs. You're listening to Fox News when Fox News only tells you propaganda. You're listening to Rush Limbaugh, and Rush Limbaugh only tells you what is being told to him to say. You're not listening to the people that you should be listening to, that you used to listen to, but then somebody put a bug in your ear because these liberals may not necessarily like the fact that we can't put mandatory prayer in schools, that's evil. Well, guess what? They don't care about religion. They only care about money. Last I checked, money is the root of all evil. And this country has become all about the money, including the churches. It makes you wonder, what are those churches really teaching? Christianity or corporatism? I'm John Thomas Hill. Good night, good luck, and may the good news be yours.